All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to, or I guess we should be live, but welcome to our first Liquity Live. This is our first time kind of bringing on an integration partner and discussing what they've been working on, what their integration with Liquity looks like, and who better to have on than B.Protocol, considering they just launched their V2 today, which includes a Liquity integration in itself. But before that, I just want to remind everybody that this is a live conversation. So if anything breaks, it's my fault. But that said, you can also hop in the chat and ask questions along the way. I'll try to squeeze them in the conversation if they fit in, or in the worst case, I'll just wait to the end to actually discuss them. But without further ado, I guess we can do intros. I'll start, then Robert, you go, and then we'll let the B.Protocol team and themselves. So I'm Colton. I'm the head of growth at Liquity. And Robert, go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm sure they already know us, or at least our audience does, but we'll get it out of the way anyways.
I'm Robert Lauko. I'm based in Switzerland, and I'm the CEO and founder of Liquity. And before that, I used to work as a researcher for Dfinity.
Who wants to go first from you guys?
Yeah, I'll take it. So hi everyone, my name is Eitan. I'm leading the ecosystem development in B.Protocol. Before that, been doing a few things in Bitcoin 2.0 since 2014. And yeah, met Yaron a few years ago while we were working on a project with Toyota Research Institute in the US. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Yaron. I'm a founder and lead developer of B.Protocol. Before B.Protocol, I was CTO and co-founder of Kyber Network. Previous to that, was doing academic research as PhD student. My first work on blockchain was actually decentralized mining pool on Ethereum.
Nice.
Back in 2016 or something.
That's crazy. So both of you guys have been in the space for a long time. I think before we dive into what B.Protocol is, I think it'd be cool to hear the origin story of B.Protocol. What were you guys trying to do? How did it start?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was CTO of Kyber Network, we used to do a lot of on-chain market making. It was before the Uniswap days, before all the automated market making area began. And it was, really professional with bots and, had to do a lot of trading there. Then actually we kind of did spin-off of Kyber, and this project is kind of spin-off and backed by Kyber Network. We will start working on, using the trading arm for liquidation bots. And, so we started Maker V2, only started back then. We work on liquidations there, liquidations at DYDX, other venues, and it became very apparent that the liquidation process is very inefficient. And we are always under the impression that something bad will happen, and we're just wondering to see, what is, for example, Maker plan B, when it will happen. Also, in addition, we did experience with some backstopping, algo trading in venues like BitMEX and centralized exchanges, where, they have this really dedicated backstop. And then, moving forward to March 2020, Black Thursday on Maker, we saw there's no really plan B for any of these platforms. Liquidations failed miserably back then. Also, seeing how inefficient DeFi liquidations are, how backstop as a DeFi primitive is missing. So yeah, this is how we started B.Protocol.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I think Robert shares those exact same opinions, and that's how Liquity was ultimately born. And so I think this idea of a backstop for liquidations and stuff is going to end up being the major theme of this whole conversation. So I guess I'll transition to you, Robert. I guess we should now introduce the stability pool, which is this fundamental piece of Liquity, and then how you came to that conclusion, how you came to that solution, I guess, and then and then we'll kind of tie that into how it's integrated to V2 of B.Protocol.
Yeah, so when designing Liquity, we had been looking at other protocols out there, mainly MakerDAO, which is our main competitor. And back then, the state of the art was either selling collateral in case of a liquidation at a discount, compared to the Oracle price, or the newer idea was to do an auction, like to sell the collateral of the liquidated borrower. Now it turned out that those auctions in particular, they're quite time consuming and can be quite inefficient because the price can drop in the meantime. So what we set out to do is kind of creating a system with the stability pool that allows to liquidate positions immediately, like basically as fast as the Oracle is updated and as fast as you can send an Ethereum transaction to trigger the liquidation. And what happens now is that people can basically deposit LUSD, the stablecoin, to the stability pool and become like backers or guarantors of the borrowers. Now, when the system needs to liquidate a borrower, it can simply take out the amount of debt that needs to be liquidated, like the amount of LUSD from the stability pool in order to repay the debt. Those tokens are burnt. And in return, what it would also do is basically give the collateral from the liquidated borrower to the stability depositors pro rata to their deposits. So basically, everybody loses some portion of their deposited LUSD and gets some portion of the ETH from the liquidated position. So it should be a net gain. But in addition to that, there is also another, like a yield farming opportunity where people can get like a continuous allocation of LQTY as a stability depositor.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell.
Exactly. And so I guess whenever you guys were looking at Liquity, like seeing that, this stability pool already exists, it was like a no-brainer to do some sort of integration, because it like removes a lot of the overhead of having to do that yourselves, right?
Yeah, definitely. And this is also an interesting story because actually, okay, now maybe some background on B.Protocol, what we did, where we are going. But like initially, actually, having observed that liquidations is both inefficient, but also we saw DeFi liquidations versus CeFi liquidations. We saw how much development effort and like blockchain research effort we invested in DeFi liquidations, where in CeFi it was mostly like trading efforts. So actually having that in mind, our first version was actually to try and incentivize professional liquidators to join DeFi, meaning algo traders who run bots, etc. And I presented in the slides and the conclusion we had, but like the main conclusion out of it is that we should pivot into more user-based liquidations with user capital. And then Liquity was like the easiest integration, and this is why we decided to start there, because it already have a stability pool. Because also we started with Maker and we saw a lot of flow. Also, we had many Maker users who actually moved to Liquity. So it was like a natural step.
And it also happened to be at kind of in the same time when we started working on V2 and Liquity launched, and it was kind of everything fell in together like at the same time. So.
Really fortunate timing. So I guess transitioning of what the integration actually is. So I'll give my brief summary, and then we can actually go into you guys can walk through it. But the TLDR, as taken from the blog post, which I'll make sure to put like in the description of anybody watching the recording. You can also find it on Twitter since they announced everything today. But basically, B.Protocol will automatically convert ETH that's gained from liquidations back to LUSD using instructions that I'm sure you'll cover earlier, and then redeposits that into the stability pool for stability providers, all the while all of these kind of continuing to earn LQTY as a proportion of their deposit. So that's kind of the TLDR, and the benefit of this is that users don't have to do this themselves. So the one headache that comes with the stability pool, as nice as it is, that you have to manage your position on your own. If you receive ETH, you have to make sure that you liquidate it in a timely manner if you want to guarantee some amount of profit from that liquidation, because the price of ETH could always drop or go up, and maybe you want to sell. So being able to sort of create this pool that manages all of this saves gas, it allows them to sort of lock in profits more effectively, and then ultimately serves as like a backstop for the Liquity system. I'd love for you guys to kind of walk through that in more detail with the presentation prepared.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with the presentation, but first I will share the full story, and it actually starts from like it's kind of a byproduct that we allow for like better user experience. We save some gas for the users. etc. But our agenda in general, it's much bigger than that, and eventually it is to make things like more secure and more scalable for lending platforms. So with Liquity, it's kind of very nice that we can start very easily because users are already incentivized, etc., to be the backstop, and then we can help them. But the story is much bigger than that, and let me share the presentation. So the general problem that B.Protocol is trying to solve is the inefficiency of lending platforms who have low capital efficiency, which is partly due to MEV, partly to originally low liquidity in DeFi, which is no longer the case. So Robert mentioned, both the auction mechanism and the fixed discount mechanism. So we saw the auction mechanism didn't really work well, at least in the first version of Maker. Now they have a new one. The fixed discount mechanism actually suffer from MEV, where so your platform say we will offer a big discount. Many players, many traders will come and liquidate, but it's not really happening because of MEV and gas wars. So because of that, most DeFi platforms offer very poor leverage ratios, which is X3 to X5. And then Liquity, it's kind of unique by offering X10 under certain conditions. But BitMEX, Bybit, and the likes all offer X100. Now, it's not really that X100 leverage is something a reasonable person would use.
Sounds fun.
However, the result when you offer only X3, for example, in Maker, the result is that relatively small change in market price, will get you liquidated. Because even if you have 200% collateral, then, roughly 20% 20% decrease in market price will get you liquidated. So it's not only about security for the platform, it's also about, bad user experience, low capital efficiency, etc. Now, this all made some sense, 2018, 2019, DEX liquidity was not really a thing. But right now, DEX liquidity or DeFi liquidity is actually huge. However, despite being huge, it is very inefficient, especially, the traditional Uniswap V2, or if you look at SushiSwap, they all have this constant product market making, which means that even if you have tens of millions of dollars of liquidity, you will not be able to efficiently even liquidate $5 million because you will hit 5% slippage very quickly. Now, so it was mentioning, Uniswap V3, and maybe also now you have a Curve V2, which have this concentrated liquidity feature, but this is also not a solution because we see that, in big market price movements, liquidity just get depleted. So it's also not something you can rely, during liquidity crisis, and this is exactly when liquidations are needed. So originally, as I said before, we try to incentivize professional liquidators, and observation was they don't want to be DeFi liquidators because of MEV, because there is a competition, like winner takes it all, and everybody has to fight with everyone. And despite having very nice liquidation premiums in DeFi, all goes to miners, and there's a lot of development effort, which is aimed towards front-running bots, where in reality it should be aimed towards a trading algorithm, which it didn't. So in V1 we have a live version of over Maker and over Compound, where it's actually kind of complex setup where user kind of provide priority in liquidations to B.Protocol, meaning that if the user get liquidated, only B.Protocol liquidators can liquidate it, and in return you get to share some of the liquidation profits. And there was technical trick there that allowed it, but eventually it gave rise to very complex system. And moreover in such system, the extra liquidity didn't really help the the underlying platforms, because eventually, even though they are professional traders, they use very efficiently the capital. So there's no strong guarantee on how they will react when market moves very quickly. So the V2 solution, which we launched today over Liquity, and we have future plans for other platforms as well. So here we kind of bypass the slippage issue in Uniswap and others, simply by letting users pull liquidity, very similar to a liquidity stability pool. And then whenever there is a liquidation, we don't have any formula. We just look at the market price given by a price oracle and offer it with a fixed slippage. So there, so in Uniswap, if you have $100 million of, let's say, LUSD, you can efficiently liquidate only $5 million at one shot. Here, or also in liquidity stability pool, if you have 100 million of LUSD there, you can liquidate 100 million of LUSD. So this is the easy part, and which Liquity already had. But like the novel part that we offer is actually, okay, so you liquidated the LUSD, now you have ETH, you need to sell it back. And recall, okay, so we are fully decentralized algorithm, protocol, fully automated. So we need a formula to decide, at which price we will sell it back. And we kind of sell it back as makers, not as a takers. So we did some adaptation on Curve Finance, stable swap invariant, combine it with a price feed by Chainlink. And finally, we offer some discount on the market price, which depends on the position. So, if you take the Liquity case, where the initial premium was 10%, so users, get 10% benefit out of the liquidation. Now the BAMM will try to sell it also with a discount, which will range somewhere between 1% to 4%. Depends on how imbalanced it is. So kind of, what is our architecture, and what users can do now with Liquity, and what they can do with us. So with current state, if user deposits to the liquidity pool, for the stability pool directly, so users deposit LUSD. Whenever there's a liquidation, they get ETH, and then it's up to them to either sell it or do whatever they want to do with the ETH. It's a hassle. Many times, because it is not pooled, it will be for very small amounts, which don't even worth the gas. And for Liquity as a protocol, like a very concerning byproduct is that this ETH cannot be used for liquidation. So, if most of the community will do it manually, now you have big liquidation, you will have to really rely on users to eventually deposit it back somehow as LUSD, and it's not really available for more liquidations. So even for Liquity as a protocol, things are inefficient.
Maybe it's just it's a way for LUSD to kind of dripping out from the stability pool.
From the stability pool, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think and you're right about, because people are participating in the stability pool at various sizes. Like some people might have $1 million position, but some people might have a $1,000 position. So if they benefit from liquidations, the amount of ETH is very minuscule. So being able to participate in a pool that sort of does the harvest for them and then resells it and redeposits for them actually makes participating in the stability pool a more profitable endeavor for them, even on shorter time frames. Whereas before, they would just get eaten alive completely by gas.
Yeah. So so it's more appealing and attractive to the user, and like as a result, eventually Liquity will get a better or bigger stability pool, which means like more stability for Liquity. So in our architecture, so we built on top of the stability pool. Now users will have to go to B.Protocol and deposit to the stability pool via B.Protocol. and then the LUSD immediately being redirected to Liquity stability pool. User get the same liquidity that he would have get if you would deposit directly, and it sits idle there, getting LQTY. And whenever there is a liquidation, Liquity protocol execute the liquidation, and now our pool has not only LUSD but also has ETH. Now, once it has ETH, it offers it to sell on the market, and I'll dive into how it actually sells it in the next slide. But then, whenever ETH is being sold into LUSD, it will be automatically get deposited back to the stability pool. Okay, so now we get like a completely like closed system, like without any human touch and everything, which supposed to both secure liquidity more, it's more efficient also for the users, etc.
Maybe just one thing before you dive into the technical aspect. I think also because Liquity, and that was another appealing part for from our perspective, as Liquity doesn't have its own one front end. And users need to pick their own front end, where they will actually use the protocol. And if when Yaron mentioned V1, and us integrating on MakerDAO and Compound, users actually had to opt into our system. They used to having Compound or MakerDAO, and they had to choose B.Protocol and import their account into B.Protocol interface. And here it's easy. It's kind of part of the DNA of Liquity, where there are multiple front ends, and users just pick whatever front end they have, and every front end has maybe either a different kickback or just some kind of an appealing something that they are trying, an edge. They are trying to find the way for users to to pick them and not others. And I think for B.Protocol, this is the exact same thing. We also planning on offering this feature kind of to other front ends to integrate as well. But currently, at least it's working via B.Protocol interface, which we will show later. So
yeah. And really quickly on that point, so if there is a front end that would want to do an integration, do they reach out to you guys and then go from there? Or how are you guys seeing that, or how are you guys?
Definitely. We also reached ourselves to the big ones, and like working with them. Also, our front end, and of course the smart contracts are fully open source. But yeah, like we now went live, and now we plan to actually work on some widgets for the front ends to like integrate it in their existing front ends. But even without it, it's fully open source, and everyone can participate. Okay, so now how the rebalance actually works, and so like people say, okay, so I have I have a lot of ETH, I want to sell it to LUSD. So most people will have in mind that we'll just dump it on Uniswap in chunks or whatever. But here we take a different approach, which which is much easier to automate with a smart contract, and also, at least according to simulations, give better result. So we have kind of a formula that eventually, if we have ETH to dump, it actually price the ETH to LUSD according to the price oracle, meaning the market price, and according to the imbalance we have. And now so we have nothing more than a smart contract with ETH that offers the ETH for sale. So it simply offers like a swap smart contract function and a get price function. And then the expectation is that like the ecosystem will tap in and buy from it. And in the next slide I will show what kind of efforts we made in order to really have it aggregated, etc. But once there is a price, and so on the right hand side you can see an example of a transaction on mainnet that actually kind of did an arbitrage here between Uniswap and our price. So in this case, actually the USD, like it was ETH to USDC to LUSD and then back to ETH in our platform. Eventually the swap function will end by depositing the LUSD back to the stability pool. So the smart contract is completely passive, does not require any operation. If there are arbitrage prices, then surely it will get hit, but we expect it to get hit, and liquidity will be pulled from there, not only when there is arbitrage, but also when it simply offers the best price. Okay, so we did some simulation, so not really on LUSD, and our benchmark was not really DeFi, but CeFi, and it was actually Binance Futures is USD market. So this is kind of show how we rebalance. We did this simplistic model where we assumed that like DeFi liquidity is capped by $100 million, and we get rebalanced only when there is a pure arbitrage between, for example, Uniswap and us, which is very pessimistic, conservative scenario. And we can see that, in general, with our market maker, you can handle liquidations much better than, a simple constant function, constant product market maker, such as Sushi, etc. And, we assumed 5% discount, where in LUSD it's even 10%. It was, at least in the model, was very profitable, so we don't even show the profits because it's somewhat ideal. And you can also see on the right-hand side that, so we did it, like as a mathematical model, but it was based on real liquidations on Binance Futures, and there was it was $700 million liquidation in 20 days, so it's like $1 billion of monthly liquidations, very non-uniformly distributed, and overall it performs very well. Okay, so I mentioned that we simply offer ETH sell price to the market, but who to say that someone will actually take it? So we took some like extra measurements there. So the one thing is to make sure that we will get aggregated by all the DEX aggregators. So Kyber Network listed us as a reserve there, and Kyber itself get aggregated in 1inch 0x API, of course, by Kyber Network DEX itself. In addition, Paraswap, which is also a DEX aggregator, also quotes our prices and provide swap interface to that. So whenever there will be ETH for sale, it will be visible to the entire DeFi community. But on top of that, we are also using keepers like Gelato and Chainlink, which is used in the case that, okay, so we are aggregated everywhere. We might offer the best price, but the imbalance might keep growing, and people might still not take us. So in that case, when we actually hit arbitrage prices, then Gelato keepers and Chainlink keepers will execute an arbitrage transaction, which will take the ETH from us, sell it on Uniswap. Take the ETH from us, get LUSD, sorry, give us LUSD, take the ETH, sell it on Uniswap, back to LUSD, and complete the arbitrage, which means that, practically, even though we offer up to 4% discount on market price, we hope, to never get anywhere below 2 to 3% below actual Uniswap price, because then we will get arbitraged by the bots. So this is, kind of safety measures we build on top of everything. In addition, okay, so we make it very hassle-free for users to participate in the stability pool. Now you can be lazy and you don't have to rebalance your ETH position, and you just get LQTY as a reward. Okay, but what do you do with the LQTY? And what if you are too lazy, to deposit this LQTY? And, looking at the big players, we see most of the activities actually withdrawing this LQTY once a day and, deposit it. Stake the LQTY. So we created with Pickle a Pickle jar, which is an optional and different interface. You'll have to go to Pickle finance website to participate there. And there you get all of B.Protocol, benefits. They tap into B.Protocol, but in addition, the LQTY is deposited into Pickle staking jar. So Pickle already have a jar where LQTY is being staked, and the profits from the stakes are automatically being sold there back to LQTY. So you can, just deposit LUSD, get your ETH position automatically rebalance, get your LQTY automatically staked, get your profits from the LQTY automatically.
The essence of DeFi.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think this is one of like the coolest parts of the whole integration is like this completely synergistic pickle jar now that uses B.Protocol on the back end that manages your stability pool for you, or your stability pool position for you. And then all the while, Pickle is managing your LQTY position for you, which ultimately farms your LQTY rewards and then harvests those, buys more LQTY and restakes. And so everything is just being handled for you through this Pickle jar by various different mechanisms. And I think that's like completely fascinating. And we're big fans of Pickle here. We've done collaborative stuff with them in the past. So I'm really excited about this jar in particular, just because of all of the things it connects and how easy it makes this whole process for users. Because otherwise, I mean, the gas for a lot of this stuff would just be ridiculous. But now all of it's handled for you just with a simple deposit.
And it also enables you bigger APYs, so if you do all the staking in Pickle, and
APYs are always nice.
And actually, like the automated staking, it's also very appealing also to small users, because otherwise you will also spend a lot of gas and, not only hassle to stake your LQTY. So here there's, like a joint LQTY staking of the entire pool. And again, users are getting exactly what they would have have they done it, like themselves. So that's our integration. Now I'll hand over. I don't know if you guys want to see a demo.
Yeah, of course.
So,
if you feel like walking through a demo, go for it.
maybe Colton, if there are any questions, or if you want to ask, someone if there are any of the viewers who have questions, so just drop them in the YouTube chat and we can take them later on.
Yeah, of course. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. I actually have one before we do the demo. How did the Pickle collaboration part of this happen? Was it just because they happened to have a staking jar and it like made the most sense to integrate both of those, or?
Yeah. So actually, they had the Pickle jar, because they already have the LQTY jar. And also, like looking at the big accounts, what they actually do, trying to guess what most concerns them. So we saw, like most of the activity is withdrawing LQTY and staking it. So we were starting to think, okay, maybe let's offer, like automatic LQTY staking. But, then we saw Pickle already offer it, and we say, let's, just connect with them.
And we were also, I think, connected through Open DeFi, which both the projects are part of. So it was kind of easy to coordinate, and it was.
No, but I think actually,
I don't remember how it started. Actually, it's
No, I think that actually Kotlin did the intro, but I'm not sure. Could be that we actually discussed with them before.
Yaron, can you stop your sharing? So
Sure. I was just going to ask Robert really quickly too. Robert, did you ever envision that there would be something like B.Protocol handling stability pool deposits for everybody, which is then connected to a Pickle jar, which handles staking for everybody in this weird like interconnected madness?
When we started designing this, that was even in late 2019. I think the expression of money Lego didn't even exist. So, it was hard to anticipate what would happen in the future. But now, as we went forward and finalized our system, we just realized that, this is nice. kind of the whole ecosystem is becoming more and more integrated. But still, I mean, this level of integration is kind of exceeds like our expectations.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So basically, for users to pick to use Liquity through B.Protocol, they have to go to app.bprotocol.org. org and pick, we have Maker and Compound, as we mentioned before, and now we have also Liquity integrated, and it's basically it's the same front end that users are used to, using the same things. I'm using that over Coven just for the demonstration.
So maybe to comment on so actual implementation, we just forked it, from the Liquity repo. Actually, okay, so a shout out. I'm not sure if Daniel is awake and seeing us, but Daniel helped us a lot. But Daniel helped us a lot, like integrating everything and see, So we simply forked it and changed, like the stability pool part, so it will be routed via B.Protocol.
So if you can see, we skipped the trove part. So currently the UI doesn't have a trove part. We expect users to have already LUSD, either from trove or if they bought it in the open market. And basically they can deposit LUSD. My account just. Sorry. In B.Protocol, you have to first give allowance.
So one difference from the original stability pool, where the original stability pool, there's some kind of hard-coded condition that like revoke the allowance condition. But here we are, like an external protocol building on top of it, so allowance is needed.
Yeah, and this is no different than if you're like approving an allowance for like Uniswap or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly the same. So I just decide how much I can either use the max or just use a random number to deposit my LUSD into the stability pool. Confirm that. Slow connectivity, so sorry for that.
Well, at least the mainnet would be way slower, so
get used to that.
Yeah. Come on, Coven.
Yeah. So basically, that's it. You can see your the exact same thing. I will say that once there could be a time where users are getting into the pool where there is some ETH in there, in the middle of a liquidation, and the ETH is still being being sold. So they might see a balance of ETH also in the pool, but usually there is no ETH balance in the stability pool, in the B.Protocol part of the stability pool.
Yeah.
And basically, you can claim your LQTY if you're not using Pickle to do that for you. And yeah, it's just the exact same thing. Staking your you can stake your LQTY here as well.
And the second is completely like the same. You stake it to the same. There's no B.Protocol like wrapper on top of the staking. It's exactly the same as the Liquity staking.
Yeah, and I think like one of the best parts of this, especially for people who like prefer the stability pool, is the user flow doesn't change. This is the same interface that everybody's very much used to. The only difference is you don't have to do any legwork anymore. I guess unless you're not using the Pickle jar and you have to claim your LQTY and stake it or whatever else. But outside of that, like all of this is the same, except behind the scenes, a bunch of magic is happening that makes your life way easier.
Yeah. The only thing maybe users are used to and they won't see it here, it's their ETH kind of part, as they won't have any ETH part from which after liquidations users might have. So here you won't get that. You will just usually you will get only LUSD.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask, and I'm sure other people will be curious about, is there will there ever be like I guess a Pickle front end kind of integrated here too, so that users can kind of like deposit straight into Pickle from the front end, or are there any plans there?
Yeah, it's
No,
already.
Yeah, I mean, Pickle has its own front end, and actually, I don't know, Ethan, is it part of the demo? But,
No, but I can try and show it just now.
Yeah, so Pickle has its own front end, and like kind of we decided to offer a different one because like Pickle fans will go to Pickle.
Yeah, gotcha.
And if you want to do it without Pickle, just use our interface. For us, it's the same.
Yeah, and I would say the kickback rate is 100%. So it's if anyone is wondering, I'll just have to.
Yeah, I think that's worth emphasizing that you're not taking any cut of the LQI reward for those who are not familiar with the term kickback rate, which is, I think, you're one of the few front ends that are not taking a cut.
Yeah. So we don't take a cut. We do take some cut from the actual rebalance. There will be a fee of up to 1% that will be decided by our governance. But that's for the 10% profit you have on liquidation. But yeah, out of the LQTY, users get everything.
Yeah, and that was going to be another thing I thought would be interesting to touch on really briefly as we're nearing toward the end of all this. Like, what is the number one way that somebody can get like involved with B.Protocol governance, start participating, and potentially like getting the backend fee, something like integration?
Yeah, so like to participate in like in the governance first. So yeah, so we govern by the B.Pro token, which was distributed to early users, and right now there is some vote on distributed to new users, which might also include Liquity, but the vote didn't pass yet. So that will be like be a user or get involved in the community is the best way like to join the governance.
So actually use stuff if you want to participate in governance. Is there? I'm guessing you guys have a governance forum too, which I'll make sure to put.
Yeah, definitely. We have forum, Twitter, Discord.
So just for the Pickle interface. So I just got into Pickle. I hope you can see my screen. Yep. You just get into the jars in Pickle, and just scrolling down, you'll find the B.Protocol, and you can just deposit and withdraw, and all the rest will just will happen automatically. So yeah, it's and it's the exact same. It's another gateway to get into the B.Protocol integration on top of Liquity. So
this is like the cool. I'm still like fascinated by that particular integration, just the Pickle jar and how it works and stuff. And I'm sure I know we already had a few community members who thought it was awesome, which it is. So two ways to use it: either through the B.Protocol interface, which will not handle LQTY staking for you, or if you do it through the Pickle finance interface through one of their jars, they will handle the LQTY staking through their LQTY Pickle jar that they kind of already had live. And so I'm sure all of that will be subject to like whatever fees that Pickle apply, and then you guys also have a fee on the back end for rebalancing sort of earned ETH for the stability pool depositors. So just that, I guess that's the one thing to sort of keep in mind.
Yeah, and in Pickle also, of course, you can take the PLQTY that you get and get Pickle for that. I think in the farms, so there's like an extra step you can do.
Like the missing step. Yeah, I mean, you have to manually stake your Pickle if you want to stake them. This we don't do for. Also Pickle don't do for you, but
yeah.
So there is room for another. Yeah, like there is room for another integration that will go to stake the Pickle for you.
Yeah, eventually we'll just have insane interconnectedness, and nobody will know what's going on in the back end. They're just like throwing their assets into the black hole that produces yield for them, which I guess is never like a bad thing.
Yeah, but yeah, it's you can see the APIs here, so that's basically what you get. So yeah, that's on Pickle side, So.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I managed to squeeze in all of the questions I had, and I probably like stole all the limelight from any community members that had questions, so we don't have like a backlog. Robert, if you have any questions you want to get in before we're kind of hitting the 45-minute mark here, is there anything that you had in mind or any comments?
Yeah, maybe one question, like you mentioned Gelato and Chainlink Keepers, I guess those are now only responsible for like the arbitrage trade, but maybe they could also be extended to trigger liquidations. They lead to arbitrage opportunity later.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, there could be. I mean, so in Liquity, you guys already, like take care of the liquidation part. Yeah. So actually, yeah, I mean, like it could be like a nice addition to Liquity, and we'll be happy, like to help there and collaborate there. But like when we move to new protocols, then yeah, they will definitely be part of the, like the ecosystem that will actually compete on the, like the byte or liquidation transaction. And yeah, if you think it could be useful also for Liquidity, we can also add that. But it's kind of not part of the actual B protocol as it done already, like outside B protocol. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting to explore like what that would look like, because I mean right now the competition for actually submitting the liquidation transaction on Liquity is like very weird. We've been trying to keep up with it and like how it works. Sometimes people use flashbots, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people use the interface, sometimes people use bots. It's like it's really arbitrary on who wins. But if these keepers were leveraging something like flashbots and facilitating these, it's only either extra profit for them or the protocol.
Yeah, not even plus. Even for us, like the arbitrage, the hope and the like the real goal is eventually not, not to rely on these keepers, but actually, like to have arbitrage community. This is why we also configure the bots, the keepers, not to immediately do the arbitrage, but to wait a bit. So the main goal is actually to have, the Flashbot community do it for us, and only like as a last resort, rely on these keepers that, they are decentralized, but still it's better to have, like much more distributed community. And yeah, I think, like the same solution could work for Liquidity, that, like wait a couple of minutes before you actually do it, give a fair chance for all the Flashbot to compete. Eventually you really want them to do it. But if they don't, then Chainlink or Gelato would kick in.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
Maybe one last word, promoting B.Protocol, and this is the first integration, of what what we're doing with the backstop. But basically, B.Protocol, what we aim for is, becoming the backstop Lego piece, for DeFi. And here it was kind of an easy integration, as you already had, the stability pool, where other protocols, other lending protocols usually don't have that. And this is basically what B.Protocol v2 offers, is bringing this liquidity pool that, pulling users' funds to be used for liquidations. And from there, the rest will be kind of the same. But, we could have skipped the first part because it was already there in Liquidity. So thanks for that. It made the first integration easier.
Yeah, so in short, everybody should be more like us.
Yeah, but you still found something to improve upon, which is great, I think, and improves and validates the concept of money legos.
Yeah.
No, but actually, Colton, joke aside, our goal is actually to make stability pools for other protocols as well. But a bit more efficient than like the current stability pool.
Yeah, I agree. I think the stability pool is really awesome because it kind of like democratizes access to a part of a lot of these borrowing protocols that people have just, or at least normal people have just never had access to, right? Like a normal person's not going to participate in a maker auction just because it's not viable for them. Whereas the stability pool really kind of makes it super accessible for everybody. And if you guys could find a way to extend that to other protocols, I think that's pretty admirable. And I think there's a lot of benefit that could be gained from it. So I'll be excited to see how the other integrations play out along with ours. So if you're not using the integration yet, try
and get a seat at the backstop, in Binance or in FTX. Good luck.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, awesome guys. We made it to about an hour, so I think everybody's probably tired of hearing us talk now. So we can wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing what you've been working on. If you haven't already, please check out their integration. They also put out a well-written blog post covering how the integration works on the back end and everything. So in case we didn't cover any topic that you were interested in, I'm sure the blog post will cover it. You can also find them on Twitter, which is just B.Protocol, and then B.Protocol.org, if I'm not mistaken, is the website, and you can find the app from there. And then also check out the Pickle integration because it's sick. So why not? We all love Pickle here. So any last words, any last things you guys want to shout out before we call it?
No.
Nope. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the first live call, and if you're watching the recording, hopefully you enjoyed the recording. I think that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Cool.